let's add a JQ transform to our workflow. Again, nothing in our workflow, so let's just add a JQ transform. So we hit the plus button, we hit the JSON JQ transform. Now JQ is a tool that will transform your JSON. It's like you can do almost anything you want with JSON using JQ. If you want to try it out, there's jqplay.org, which is a playground where you have input JSON, you run your JQ query, and then you get results on the other side. So in this case, we just have to create a JQ expression right here. So whatever input comes in, it'll be transformed, and then that'll be in our output of our JQ transform. Let's look at a couple of examples. If you watch the video, and there'll be a link below for the dynamic fork. In our dynamic fork example, we use JQ transforms to create the input JSON for the dynamic fork. And so let's look at those JSON queries, or the JQ queries that do the work. And so I have that workflow open right here. And when the workflow starts, there's actually 3 JQ transforms in a row. And so the first one is actually really, really simple. It takes the input and says how many items are in that input, right? So when you have a dynamic task, you need to know how many different forks to create. And this says, hey, how many are in the input, so I know how many different things to do. And so in the example I'm going to show, there were 2. And so this JQ query is going to give a result of 2. And so we can look here, the input comes in, and if we get the output, the result you can see here says 2. And with that, now we know, I need to create some JSON arrays that are going to have 2 items in them. And you'll see that in the next one. So this next one, these are all of the tasks. And so we're going to take the inputs, and we're going to give a range of 0 to 2. Right, so there's going to be 2 items in there. And then we need to create a JSON for each of the counters. And the counter is this $F. And so we're going to create a bunch of dynamic tasks with the sub-workflow name of shipping loop workflow. The next parameter is going to be the dynamic task with the number. The reference name is going to be shipping loop workflow reference 0 and then 1, right? Because it's got the counter in there. And then we need to call it a sub workflow. And so this is generating the document that we need to run our dynamic task. The second one here is going to do the same thing, except for in addition to creating the task reference name, which is shipping loop sub workflow reference counter, it's also going to put the input parameters. And so it's just another JQ transform. Again, we want 2, and it's going to, the name is going to be the task reference name, which is shipping loop sub workflow reference counter. And then we want to add in the address. And so the address is in the input array. We just need everything from the address, the name, the street, the city, the state, and the zip. And so we just say, hey, just grab dot addresses of counter 0 and then of counter 1 and put it in there. So as you can see, the JQ transform task is extremely powerful. You may have a JSON response from an API that has like a zillion entries, and you really only want 2. And so you can use the JQ transform to just delete all the stuff you don't need and smush it down to 2 so you can upload that into your database or do whatever you need with it. By optimizing and reorganizing your JSON, it just makes it easier for your workflow to continue. Maybe you have 2 different JSONs that you need to combine. You can use JQ query to do that. And because it's a system task, it just runs right on top of Conductor and makes it really easy to run. If you have questions about JQ transforms, leave a comment below. We'll get back to you. If you want to learn about some of the other tasks, look in the description. We'll have links to some of the other videos on how to create other types of tasks inside Orcus Cloud, inside Netflix Conductor. Thank you for watching.